part 3 of Law of Irrationality of the book The Laws of Human Nature. Master Your Emotional Self. We're on page 19 on the interpretation. As Pericles surveyed the political scene and early in his career, he noticed the following phenomenon. Every Athenian political figure believed he was rational, had realistic goals, and plans on how to get there. They all worked hard for their political factions and tried to increase their power. They led Athenian armies into battle and often came out ahead. They strove to expand the empire and bring in more money. And when their political maneuvering suddenly backfired or the wars turned out badly, they had excellent reasons for why this had happened. They could always blame the opposition or, if need be, the gods. And yet, all of these men were so rational. Why did their policies add up to so much chaos and self-destruction? Why was the Athens such a mess and the democracy itself so fragile? Why was there so much corruption and turbulence? The answer was simple. His fellow Athenians were not rational at all, merely selfish and shrewd. What guided their decisions was their base emotions, hunger for power, attention, and money. And those purposes, they could be very tactical and clever. And for those purposes, they could be tactical. But none of their maneuvers led anything that lasted, served the overall interest of the democracy. What consumed Pericles as a thinker and a public figure was how to get out of this trap, how to be truly rational in an area dominated by emotions. The solution he came up with is unique in history and devastatingly powerful in its results. It should serve as our ideal. In his conception, the human mind has to worship something, has to have its attention directed to something, its values above all else. For most people, it's their ego. For some, it's their family, their clan, their god, their nation. For Pericles, it would be nous. The Greek word for mind or intelligence, nous, is force that permeates the universe, creating meaning and order. The human mind is naturally attracted to this order. This is the source of our intelligence. For Pericles, the nous that he worshipped was embodied in the figure of the goddess Athena. Athena was literally born from the head of Zeus, her name itself reflecting this combination of God, Theos, and mind, nous. But Athena came to represent a very particular form of nous. Eminently practical, feminine, and earthly. She's the voice that comes to heroes in times of need, instilling in them a calm spirit, orienting their minds toward a perfect idea for victory and success, then giving them energy to achieve this. To be visited by Athena was the highest blessing of them all, and it was her spirit that guided great generals and the best artists, inventors, and tradesmen under her influence. A man or woman could see the world with perfect clarity and hit upon action that was just right for the moment. For Athens, her spirit was invoked to unify the city, make it prosperous and productive. In essence, Athens stood for rationality, the gifts of gods to mortals. For it alone could make a human act with divine wisdom. To cultivate his inner Athena, Pericles first had to find a way to master his emotions. Emotions turn us inward, away from nous, away from reality. We dwell in our anger or our insecurities. If we look at the world and try to solve problems, we see things through the lens of these emotions. They could vision Pericles trained himself to never act in the moment, to never make a decision while under the influence of a strong emotion. Instead, he analyzed his feelings, usually when he looked closely at his insecurities or his anger. He saw that they were not really justified, and they lost their significance under scrutiny. Sometimes he had to physically get away from the heated assembly and retire his house, where he remained alone for days on end, calming himself down. Slowly, the voice of Ethna would come to him. He decided to base all of his political decisions in one thing: what actually served the greater good of Athens. His goal would unify citizenry through genuine love of democracy and believe in the superiority of Athenian way. Having such a standard helped him avoid the ego trap. It impelled him to work to increase the participation and power of the lower and middle classes. Even though such a strategy could easily turn against him, it inspired him to limit wars, even though this meant less personal glory for him. And finally, it led to his greatest decision of all, the public works project that transformed Athens. To help himself in this deliberative process, he opened his mind to as many ideas and options as possible. He Even to those of his opponents. He imagined all of the possible consequences of a strategy before committing to it. With a calm spirit and an open mind, he hit upon policies that sparked one of the true golden ages in history. One man was able to infect the entire city with his rational spirit. What happened to Athens after he departed from the scene speaks for itself. The Sicilian expedition represented everything that he had always opposed. A decision secretly motivated by the desire to grab more land, blinded to its potential consequences. Understand, like everyone, you think you are rational but are not. Rationality is not a power you are born with, but one you acquire through training and practice. The voice of Ethna simply stands for a higher power that exists within you right now. A potential you have perhaps felt in moments of calmness and focus. I lost where I was at. Okay. the perfect idea coming to you after much thinking. You are not connected to this higher power and present because your mind is weighed down with emotions. Like Pericles in assembly, you are infected by all the drama that others churn up. You are continually reacting to people, to what people give you, experiencing waves of excitement, insecurity, and anxiety that make it hard to focus. Your attention is pulled and that, this way and that, and without the rational standard to guide your decisions, you never quite reach the goals that you set. At any moment, this can change with a simple decision to cultivate your inner ethna. Rationality is then what you will value the most, and that which will serve you as your guide. Your first task is to look at those emotions that are continually affecting your ideas and decisions. Learn to question yourself. Why is this anger or resentment? Where does this instant and attention come from? Under such scrutiny, your emotions will lose their hold on you, and you will begin to think for yourself instead of reacting to what others give you. Emotions tend to narrow the mind, making us focus on one or two ideas that satisfy your immediate desire for power or attention. Ideas that usually backfire. Now, with a calm spirit, you can entertain a wide range of options and solutions. You will deliberate longer before acting and reassess your strategies. The voice will become clearer and clearer when people besiege you with their endless dramas and petty emotions. You will resent the distraction and apply your rationality to think past them. Like an athlete, continually getting stronger through training, and your mind will become more flexible and resilient, clear and calm, and you will see answers and creative solutions that no one else can envision. Wow, that's cool, man. No one else can envision. All right. Is just as through one second self, where standing beside one. One is sensible and rational oneself, but the other self is impelled to do something perfectly senseless and sometimes very funny, and suddenly you notice that you are longing to do that amusing thing. Goodness knows why that is. You want to, as it were, against your will. Through you fight against it with all of your might. You want to. Florida. All right. That's the right. What is it? What's the chapter called? The Law of Irrationality. That was a good chapter. Next chapter is going to be Keys of Human Nature. We'll do that in the next segment. Peace.